Good morning everyone, it's Yvonne here to do your What's Cracking reading. It's been so erratic the last week or so it has been hard to sort of get on and do the readings due to everything else going on around the place. Firstly, thank you so much for subscribing to my channel and for watching me and supporting me. And of course for your beautiful comments, which don't go unnoticed. I am on now till Friday. I'm off Friday. I might still do the morning readings. I'll see how I go for time. I'm off on holidays. I will be, for the first time since I've had the channel, going away without doing any readings whatsoever. Normally I incorporate some into my trip because it gives me the opportunity to catch some of you in different places, but this time around I'm taking 2 weeks time out. So I'll be away until, I think it's the 23rd or 24th, but that week, the Monday, I'll be back. If you do want a personal reading with me and you feel you don't want to wait, I still have some spaces left on Wednesday and Thursday this week. So you can go to www.theaussiegoddess.com and book there. I will be doing a live tomorrow, so if you want to join me for mini reads, you can do them. You can ask for mini reads, questions for a small donation. So I'll be on to do those at 12 o'clock tomorrow. If I don't get around to doing the star sign readings this week, I'll see how I go. Then I might on Thursday find an hour there and come on and do the readings for each sign. Okay, I think that's everything. All right, we're going to use the Albino Rider-Waite Tarot for your reading today, and we're starting off with the Strength card. The Strength card is a card that talks about finding inner strength. It is a card, I mean, we see the 8 here, the never-ending sort of pathway of the 8. The lion really represents our inner fears or inner demons, and we're taming this lion. We've already tamed this lion here. Now, this card often comes up when we're working with our shadow or those parts of ourselves that we hide away from the world. But the Strength card is telling me here, when I see it, either you are doing work on yourself or you are going to be required to do some work on yourself. Now, there's some deliberation around working on yourself is perhaps the right wording to use, and I guess I've always used that, but in thinking about that, maybe the best way to say it is to heal yourself. But I always say it's about understanding, because understanding something is half the healing. So for example, if all of a sudden you realize you've created a pattern or you're creating a pattern in your life, recognizing that pattern already makes you aware of it and you become the observer of what you're doing. And I guess in becoming the observer, in understanding that you're doing something a certain way, you've already recognized the need to heal it. And that's what you're doing when the Strength card comes around. Now, I feel here something is about to come around that maybe you have seen, maybe you haven't, but it's about to show you something that still you are either doing or you've integrated into your life that is no longer serving you. So it may have, a lot of these patterns, a lot of these behaviors that we have served us in our early years because they've protected us. So a lot of those we sort of take on board and use because they save us. They're like a self-serving mechanism, some sort of, I guess, energy of keeping yourself safe. Like, for example, people pleasing is a really, really good one. And a lot of us have had to learn about people pleasing because we feel that serving others or pleasing others above ourselves is something that is best for us, when in reality it's a trauma response and it saves you from conflict. And very often you've developed that early in your childhood, and it is about you avoiding conflict. So, if somebody says something or asks something, sometimes you want to say no, but you don't know how to say no. So if this is it, something has been shown to you here that you haven't recognized before. And it looks as though you're closing out a cycle because of that. So when I say closing out a cycle, it means that you have come to the point where you've understood or you've recognized and observed what you're doing, and you've gone ding with a little epiphany moment. You've realized that it's something you've been doing for a long time, which is no longer serving you. Now, one of the things I have realized lately at a personal level is, I've been working a lot on my own triggers. And for a lot of us, triggers are a complex PTSD sort of response. So sometimes when people say things that really upset you or get you really aggravated, I'm really bad when people drive poorly or put other people in danger, or when they're sort of blind to seeing what they've done. And that sort of upsets me. I have a real environmental thing going on, so I don't like people throwing cigarettes out of cars, and it makes me really angry. And I realized it years ago, that what I call over responsibility when I'm coaching people. We have this innate sense of over responsibility, like we make ourselves responsible for everything that goes on. And we can react in a way that is not healthy for us. Doesn't matter about the other person. What we can do is we can perpetuate or repeat a behavior that is not healthy for us. And I feel like this is you realizing that you're doing this and putting a stop to it, or somehow learning how to heal it. Now, so we have some sort of sign here. The Page of Cups can be, a message from somebody or a communication from somebody here that may be going to alert you to something you've done or that you do a certain way. And I feel like here, because we have the Justice card, that you're completing some sort of pattern of behavior that is no longer serving you. It's part of what you came here to learn. So when we come to the planet in our Akashic records, we talk about the things we want to learn. We may have done some of that work while we're incarnating. And then when we come here, we go to working on those lessons. And that's why we have soulmates to help us learn those lessons throughout our lifetime. So I feel like here you may be getting some sort of communication, some sort of message here, maybe from somebody younger than you or a family member or a child, which is going to help you recognize something here that you were meant to learn at this time. Now we have the King of Cups coming with the Ace of Pentacles. So it feels to me like maybe somebody is offering you something or bringing you something here that is going to be very bountiful, very sort of important to you. And you are being offered this. But there is something within that offer here with the Page that is going to help you recognize and change something for yourself. So maybe you're being offered a relationship. Maybe the relationship has, some pitfalls or some things within it that have really been difficult for you to work with previously. Maybe this time around you are taking that on board and working with it. But you're doing something differently this time for that reason. So let's get in a bit deeper. Okay, so first off, I hear people saying, I'll never get married again. I'm never going to get married. And I'm thinking here, maybe that is what you've created, this energy of I'll never get married again. The Hierophant for me talks about tradition. It talks about things done a certain way that they have been done for a very long time. So for me, it's sort of that very religious side of man, I guess. And when I talk man, I'm talking human rather than masculine. And it may be that you have traditionally put yourself into this energy. It may be that you have a certain belief system that is no longer serving you. Or it may be that you are pulling away from something that was very important to you before. So it could be, just, for example, maybe you've always been a lawyer and worked in law and it's always conflicted with your ethics. So maybe you're deciding to just walk away from that and go and be a disability support worker because it sits more heavily with what you want to do within your heart. But something you are moving away from here because basically you've recognized it, you've understood it, you may have outgrown it. So it could be, you know, being a lawyer, moving from corporate law into some sort of environmental law, for example. You may be changing something because it doesn't fit with you anymore. Now, the Page of Swords tells me that there may be some energy of you researching what you are trying to find out. So if any of you have had a reading with me, within the readings, I always work with Spirit to give you some idea or information to work on anything that comes up during the reading. So for example, if you've been in a narcissistic relationship, I will offer you some tools to how to work with that energy. And it's always been the way I've read, because I feel like if I say to people, you need to go away and heal, I'm leaving them up in the air. I'm not letting them know how they can work through that energy. The Page of Swords for me is a card that talks about researching something, looking for something. So it could be that whatever this is that you're discovering here that's making you feel a little bit like it's not serving you any longer, you may be doing work here with the Page of Swords to understand it better, to move away from it here. Now, the Seven of Swords is a card that says to me that whatever you're doing here, you are moving away from something, but you are taking your lessons and your clarity with you. So you don't need these things that you're leaving behind. So for example, if you have been in, let's say it's a toxic relationship, just for argument's sake, maybe it's a toxic marriage or toxic relationship, and you are looking up some of the ingredients of that to try and understand what it is that you've been doing. Maybe now you're ready just to pack up what's going to serve you moving forward, but leaving behind energies that are not going to do you any good. For example, you may take with you the lessons you've learned within the relationship about yourself, but you may leave behind these ideas of how other people should be, for example. There is a decision pending here. There is something that you're researching because you don't have enough information on. I'm a Google girl. So when something happens to me, I get straight into Google and I Google everything. And I have a headload of trivial information because that's what I do. So if I don't understand something, somebody behaves in a certain way, or I have a situation that doesn't really fit with my idea or my schema of how the world should go, I go and Google. And I find out why is that, and I research. And I feel like here you're making some sort of decision to research something here. You are definitely making a decision as to whether it is something you need to leave behind. So you're moving away from something that really is not serving you here. I feel strongly that this is a pattern, a way of being, or a way of having relationships, for example, that isn't serving you. Okay. So this is a pretty potent reading this morning. So the Seven of Wands tells me you're sort of always fighting for something. You're always fighting to be heard, fighting to be noticed, fighting to be seen. Maybe you're in a relationship with somebody. Maybe it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. Maybe you feel like people don't always understand your perspective or where you're coming from. But again, coming back to this idea of triggers, it may be that a certain type of behavior in a relationship or a way that you're being treated makes you feel that you have to constantly defend yourself. This is what you're looking at here. All right, something is changing very quickly because there's communication coming in. I feel like it feels like to me, as soon as I pick that card up, you're getting communication from an unknown source. So it could be, for example, when you say communication from an unknown source, one of those emails you get and you think, where did that come from? I don't remember joining up to that particular place. And all of a sudden they're emailing me. And maybe you didn't. But then inadvertently an email comes through and it talks about something that you've been thinking about. This happens all the time. Sometimes we don't become aware of it and other times we do. Sometimes we actually ask for the sign and then it's there for us. But I feel like here you're getting a sign that's coming from the universe or from somebody that's going to help you see something that you've been doing or change something they've been doing or alert yourself to something you've been doing. Okay, so straight away I'm feeling like I'm talking to people who overinvest in relationships. Now maybe you've recognized this within yourself. this comes back to the people-pleasing thing. When you love somebody and you love somebody wholeheartedly, sometimes you keep investing and giving and giving and giving, and one day you can look and think, what am I getting back out of this? Because at the end of the day, we are not meant to completely give of ourselves and not expect anything in return. As much as you may be sitting there thinking, what's wrong with that? It's not the way it's supposed to be. So maybe you're starting to see the pattern of behavior that I always look at is the people-pleasing side of us, where to avoid conflict or to avoid losing something that we really love, we over-invest in it. We overcare, we overlove, we overgive, we overspend, whatever it is here, something you're being told to see for yourself. And you're putting it down. Now, interestingly enough, before I did this reading, I picked up to do the cards, and I started the reading off before, but my nose was running and I had to stop. And I feel, and some of these cards came out there. Some of these cards that said, going forward, there is something you're putting down here. I don't feel for some of you this is a person, but it may be some habits within that relationship with that person that you are realizing are not serving you. So you're putting down this idea of over-investing in something. Now, for some of you, this could be work as well. I hear people say all the time, you know, oh, it's really hard at work, I put in 150%. And then people will say things like, oh, you know, I work with people who don't do enough. Because you always pick up the slack, right? So when you see somebody not doing it right, you get in there and you fix it. And then what happens is people become accustomed to that. They become accustomed to you fixing it, over loving it, overdoing it. People like that. But the problem is, at first, it will seem very, very good because you're constantly attending to it and jumping to it. But eventually that becomes toxic because you will start to be angry and resentful, and you will get really upset because you'll stop one day and you'll think, I've put so much energy into this and this person has done nothing in return or very little in return. And I feel like that is the energy that you're starting to understand here with the Ten of Wands. Yep, because there's a change in the air here with the Wheel of Fortune. So something here you are starting to understand. Do you know, I remember somebody years ago, me saying to somebody that I knew a family that had absolutely no boundaries whatsoever. And they used to get really upset with me. In those days, I wasn't very good at setting boundaries, but I did have some boundaries that I was very firm about. And that particular family were constantly trying to break those down. And I remember saying one day, somebody called this family at like some ridiculous time of the day, like 6 a.m. or something. And I said to the person, was that somebody who rang at 6 a.m. thinking, well, only reason people ring me at that time of the day is because there's an emergency? And she said, no, somebody just wanted to know what time something was on today. And I was like, and they ring you at 6 a.m.? Do you not find that rude? And she said, oh, I'm a nice person. And I was like, really? If that constitutes being nice, then actually I really feel that you need to review your boundaries. So I feel that people think that they are being nice or that they are being good. But if somebody wakes you at 6 a.m. because they can't be bothered going and looking at the internet or the newspaper to see what time something's on, and they find you an easier place to find out that information, then that's not very respectful of them, but it really shows that you have very poor boundaries. And rather than saying to somebody, hey, you don't call me at that time of the day. Like, if you're going to call me after 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock or whatever. They don't. And they see that they're a nice person because they do that. So some of those things you see along the way and you realise that that is much better for people and more comfortable than creating conflict. Because people think conflict is really bad. They fear that if they say to that person that's the wrong time to call, that person may be angry with them or upset with them. It is a trauma response from childhood. And I feel like something in this is changing for you. You're seeing something in a very different way. Something is being shown to you with the Strength card that you are closing off here. I feel like there's some sort of opportunity coming through as a path in your karmic way something to do with your soul contract that you are learning in a very big way here. And when I see this Ace of Pentacles, King of Swords, it may be something legal for you here. But what I see with the Ace of Pentacles is it's almost like it is going to be its own reward. By you understanding this pattern, by you understanding what you're doing, it is going to be, in effect, a reward to you. It may mean healthier relationships. It may move blockages that you've had. But somehow or another, you're creating abundance through this. Now, these two cards just jumped out. So what I want to say to you is this could be a relationship for some of you with these two cards. And maybe this relationship is just beautiful. And maybe you keep investing in it, thinking that that is what you need to do. But I see this card here and I feel like there will come a point where you're going to understand you cannot invest what you've been doing at the level you've been doing for forever. So there's something that needs to change here. Let me just pull a couple more cards. All right, so I have the Chariot card. You could be dealing with a Cancer or Gemini here. I have a lot of, that was one of the cards that dropped out before. I have a lot of water sign energy here if you're dealing with a water sign. There is something here that is already starting to turn on you. And the universe is saying, especially with this card, you have already learned this lesson, I feel. I feel like somehow or another you've already learned this, but you haven't put it into practice. So maybe in between situations you have learned how to not do something a certain way, but all of a sudden you are back in it doing it the same way again. So whatever it is for you, I feel like it is relationship based. It could still be at work though. It could be something you do at work. Maybe somebody always says to you, you've got to work back, and you're the only person that ever works back. Nobody else has ever asked. And you're in a position now where, say, it's Christmas Eve, you know, you're ready to pack the kids up for Christmas, wrap their presents, and someone says, no, you need to work back tonight. But you are always the one that's asked. Nobody else is. Why do you think that is? You're easy. You're easy prey for somebody here. Somebody is finding you very, very easy to manipulate. All right, we have Earthed here. There you go. This is perfect. Learning how to be human in the world, but not of it. So this is what you're doing. Somehow or another, your spiritual nature here and your generosity are proving to be detrimental to your well-being. The challenge for all souls having a human experience is to be of the world but not of it. To realize they are souls having a human experience and to be fully conscious of it, to have their soul fully embody their body. People's personalities tend to relate to either transcendence or immanence. Those who lean towards transcendence have a longing for the heavens and the metaphysical. They yearn for a personal experience with God and to be lost in the heavens. They're envious of the angels and more comfortable praying and hanging out in the stars than on earth. Those who tend towards immanence have attached themselves to earth and their body. They spend more time thinking about things in the physical world rather than connecting with the heavens or their own mystical inner worlds. Being a fully embodied soul having a human experience means finding the balance between transcendence and immanence, being in the world but not of it. I have met people like this and I fully get it. Sometimes when we start to really get into the spiritual energy, and I always say sometimes I do meditations that I do not want to come back from. They feel so fine when you're in that energy. I feel like here it says you're being called to focus more of your energies in the physical world to learn how to be human. So I feel like here you are learning something about your human self. And maybe you've always acted from your spiritual self, which may mean you've been over-generous or over-investing. And what you're being asked to do is have a look at the behaviours that you've learned along the way. Are they now serving you? Or are they something now you need to close down and put away because they are starting to cause you some sort of distress here? So it's sort of like you being asked to say no to something, maybe invest a little less, and maybe work on yourself a little bit more. Be more aware of it. Be more open, understanding. Because somehow or another you may be doing something that is not serving you. I'll leave you with that.